A very warm welcome to you. This is Friday night's calendar.
And these are tonight's main stories.
In the dock, the man accused of masterminding a robbery in Bradford, which saw the policewoman Sharon Beshanevsky shot dead, gives evidence for the first time.
Yes, nearly 2 decades after her murder, Pirandita Khan, who was extradited from Pakistan, finally gave his account of what happened. I'll have those details shortly.
We will never forget him. Exactly 40 years on, tributes are paid to David Jones, the first miner to lose his life to violence on the picket lines during the 1984 strike.
They always say to me, why are you still going down to Ollerton now after all these years? And I always tell them, I said, because I know for a fact, if it had been me, David had done it.
Also on the programme tonight.
Remember.
As the new Rugby League season gets underway, I'm at Bellevue, where big spending Wakefield Trinity are preparing to take on the Bradford Bulls.
And out of this world, how Yorkshire's Helen Sharman, Britain's first ever astronaut, is helping these youngsters in Bradford reach for the stars.
Good evening. A man accused of being the mastermind behind a robbery which saw PC Sharon Beshanevsky shot in Bradford in 2005 gave evidence for the first time today. Pirandita Khan was arrested in Pakistan in January 2020 and charged with murder before being extradited to the UK last year.
It's claimed that although he remained in his car, he planned the robbery at the Universal Express travel agent in Bradford. It was this robbery that PC Sharon Beshanevsky was responding to with her colleague Teresa Milburn when she was shot in the heart. Well, Helen Steele is at Leeds Crown Court for us now. Good evening, Helen. It's been a long road getting to this point, hasn't it?
Well, yes, it's nearly 2 decades since the shooting of PC Beshanevsky and 17 years since the warrant was first issued for the arrest of the man who appeared in court today. Well, the court's already heard how police always believed that the gang of 6, which has already been brought to justice, had a 7th member. And today, Pirandita Khan began giving his evidence.
The 18th of November 2005, and police are called to reports of a robbery in Bradford. Responding are PC Sharon Beshanevsky and her colleague Teresa Milburn. Both are shot, PC Beshanevsky fatally. 6 men have been brought to justice, 3 were charged with murder. But now Pirandita Khan, now 75, is the 7th and final man to face trial after the prosecution claim he evaded police by fleeing to Pakistan. He was arrested, then extradited to the UK last year. They also claim that despite not getting out of his car during the robbery, he was the mastermind behind it.
Well, today, Pirandita Khan walked to the stand at Leeds Crown Court with a limp and used an interpreter. He told the court that he had been in a dispute with the then owners of Universal Travel Express where the robbery happened. But asked whether he's ever set foot inside the building, he said, "No, I haven't."
He claimed the owner owed him £12,000 and that one of the 6 men convicted, Hassan Razak, had offered to get his money back. Khan said Razak never told him how he was planning to do it. He told the court, "He doesn't look like a gangster to me. He was well-dressed, well-spoken. I wasn't thinking he's a gangster. To me, he's a very polite man." Khan denies murder, 2 counts of possession of a firearm and 2 counts of possession of a prohibited weapon. The trial continues. Helen Steele, ITV News in Leeds.
The Prime Minister is coming under renewed pressure over party donations following reports the Conservatives accepted a further £5 million from a Leeds businessman at the centre of a racism row. Well, the party has not denied that it received the money from Frank Hester. He's alleged to have said Britain's first black female MP, Diane Abbott, made him want to hate all black women, comments that Rishi Sunak has described as racist. Earlier, the Chancellor insisted all donations to the party were above board.
We absolutely are transparent. We follow all the rules, the regulations. We believe in that transparency. Many of the laws about it we actually passed ourselves, and the Conservative Party fully complies with all the requirements to be transparent about our donations.
Lee Anderson has called his Ashfield constituency the capital of common sense during his first tour of the area since defecting from the Conservative Party to Reform UK. And despite a warm welcome from most...
Lee? Lee? Who wants the country back? Lee? We do.
He was confronted by one woman in Sutton in Ashfield this morning. Mr Anderson was kicked out of the Tory party over comments about the London mayor. He insists Reform UK is the only party that represents people in his constituency.
Is it the parties that have changed?
Yeah, of course it is, yeah. The parties have changed. They've not delivered on the promises. The Labour Party is supposed to be for the working class. It's not. The Conservative Party said they were going to control our borders. They haven't. And the only party really speaking to people, so, you know, saying what people want to hear. You might say that's populist, but it's not. It's just common sense politics. You know, read the contract. That's what people want. So it's only the Reform Party offering that.
40 years ago today, David Jones became the first miner to lose his life in the 1984 strike when he was hit by a brick on the picket line at Ollerton near Newark.
News of the 24-year-old's death spread rapidly, and a week later, thousands of people from across the UK travelled to the small village of South Kirby to pay their respects.
Tony Short had known David since he was a child. He was there that night and has told our reporter Natalie Higgins how he was given the horrible task of identifying his best friend's body.
Paying respects to an old friend who died 40 years ago.
He was a well-known man, Dave. You know, everybody knew him. He was like life and soul at party. Like I say, he was only small, but he had a large personality. He was a great guy.
Together since childhood, they also stood shoulder to shoulder on the picket lines. But it was only their second time out when Tony and David experienced one of the first violent clashes of the strikes.
Well, they'll come out at pub locals, and they were fighting outside pub. Dave actually did first aid to somebody.
But it was David who later found himself needing medical help.
I know he'd been injured because somebody said they'd seen him go away in an ambulance. And I went up to the police van and banged on the door, and then all of a sudden it went quiet, and this flat hat come up, inspector or whatever he was, sergeant. He says, there's a lad been killed. He says, can you tell me if your mate had any tattoos on? I says, yeah, he had Dave on one hand and Leeds United on the other arm, like what I've got. And he went, he's dead.
The year-long miners' strike was the most violent period of industrial unrest in living memory, with 6 miners and 2 others killed.
There were far too many mourners for the tiny church.
As the first miner to be killed on the picket line, David's death triggered an outpouring of solidarity. More than 3,000 people from across the country turned out for his funeral.
I went down at back at Erse, and unbeknown to me till I seen it, there were thousands walking behind. They collected a lot of money for his kids and that, which miners do, don't they? They look after their own. But yeah, it was huge. It was huge.
Over the years, his friends have kept his memory alive by visiting the place he died. Dozens of people would turn out year on year, but after 4 decades, only the surviving few return. And to this day, they vow that in David's memory, they always will.
I mean, it's 40 years ago, it's not going to save any pits are still going, but they always say to me, why are you still going down to Ollerton now after all these years? And I always tell them, I says, because I know for a fact, if it had been me, David had done it.
And that was Tony Short ending that report by Natalie Higgins. You're watching Calendar. Still to come, it's hats off or on to Rotherham's very own Oscar winner. We'll be catching up with Tom Willers in LA.
And no award-winning weather this weekend, but you know what? Compared to this week, it's not looking too bad at all, and I'll have all the detail a little later on.
More of the day's news now, and a man has been jailed for stealing a collection of silver from a museum in Newark. 36-year-old Graham Gallen from Rotherham was sentenced to 2.5 years. He was found guilty of cutting a hole through the floor of the Yeomanry Museum in Thoresby Park last October. The theft was discovered by a volunteer the morning after, who found a skeleton covering the hole.
A man whose dog was caught on camera attacking a pedestrian has been ordered to carry out 120 hours of unpaid work as part of a community order.
54-year-old Thair Iqbal pleaded guilty to the offence and was today sentenced at Sheffield Magistrates Court. His dog has since been put down. A warning that some viewers may find some of the footage which follows distressing. Adam Fowler sent us this report.
Thair Iqbal had owned his dog for more than 8 years after buying it as a puppy and said that it had never escaped the back garden before. But on the 19th of September, it managed to jump over the garden wall, and what happened next was captured on CCTV in images that some viewers may find distressing. The dog, a Presa Canario, attacked one of his neighbours who was walking his dog on Handsworth Road in Sheffield, causing a 3-day stay in hospital for him and injuries to his chest and left forearm. Armed police were called to the scene, and Thair Iqbal, seen here with the grey beard and wearing a hoodie, agreed to have the dog put down the very same day. He was described as being remorseful and cooperative and given credit for pleading guilty at the earliest opportunity to having a dog dangerously out of control, causing injury. He said he had no idea how the dog got out, and it was described as a freak event. He's been sentenced to a 12-month community order and has to carry out 120 hours of unpaid work. He also has to pay £199 of costs and has promised never to own a dog again.
That was Adam Fowler there. The funeral of one of the oldest surviving World War II veterans, Bradford-born Ernest Horsfall, has taken place just short of what would have been his 106th birthday. A Guard of Honour and military procession took place at the service, which was held in Preston this morning. Last year, Ernest received hundreds of birthday cards, including one from the Prime Minister and the King, after an appeal was launched because he didn't have any living relatives to celebrate with.
He was from a generation of heroes that helped shape the way that we live today. And in all fairness, second to none.
Until he was 80 odd years old, he was still inspecting planes for a French company. He was a character. I think any veteran deserves this show of appreciation, and we can thank them for their service.
The national and international stories coming up when the ITV Evening News continues at 6:30. Here's a look at what's happening with Gamal.
Coming up, an inquest into the deaths of 2 women who were killed by the food given to them while in hospital. Beverly Sower and Enid Heap died within days after they ate sandwiches contaminated with listeria. Also, calls for the government to crack down on puppy smuggling 3 years after ministers promised to tighten the rules. And a bust unearthed at Burley House, a nearly 2,000-year-old relic, is found in a car park. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Thank you, Gamal. We will. Well, it's time for a look at the sport now with us.
Zero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
It's a big night for Wakefield Trinity as the new season kicks off. They're playing host to the Bradford Bulls in what promises to be a thrilling West Yorkshire derby.
Trinity, under the new ownership of Matt Ellis, are pushing for promotion back to the Super League after they were relegated last season. Well, Sally Simpson is live at Bellevue for us. And Sally, a sellout crowd expected down there for the game tonight.
That's right, this fixture between Trinity and the Bradford Bulls has really captured the imagination to the extent that it's a 7,200-seat sellout, and that's the biggest crowd in the Championship since 2019. There's a real buzz around Bellevue as the club hopes to bounce back from last season's relegation, and that's due in no small part to this man, the club's new owner and chief exec, Matt Ellis. Matt, you've already ploughed millions into this club. How does that translate to success?
Yeah, we're doing a lot of working around the ground. We're pumping money into the team. We want to bounce back to Super League this year and be strong when we're back up next year.
High hopes for tonight then. How do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean we had an interesting result at Fev last week. It was an interesting game with the pitch, but we're The lads are up for it. They're going to put it right tonight, definitely.
All right, Matt, thank you very much indeed. Well, Trinity are 3-1 favourites to win the grand final in October, and the bookies predict they'll be up against Toulouse, who are tonight in the other tricky opening fixture against the Sheffield Eagles. Before the match here tonight, there'll be an official opening of the Neil Fox MBE stand behind me. He played a couple of times at Bradford before his record-breaking stint here at Trinity. His elder brother Peter is also known as a coach for the Bradford Bulls. So lots for both sets of fans to look forward to tonight. There's currently a physical disabilities rugby league game going on behind me as a warm-up before the action gets underway. Kick-off tonight here is at 8 o'clock, and we'll bring you both sets of results from this game and the Sheffield Eagles in our late bulletin at 11.
Oh yes, Sally, thank you very much. It looks like there's a great atmosphere there tonight. Thank you.
Certainly is. There's lots happening already before the big game at 8.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. Sally Simpson there live at Bellevue. Well, on to football now, and to what could be big celebrations in North Derbyshire this weekend. If results go their way, Chesterfield could be promoted back to the Football League after a 6-year absence.
That would be amazing. The Spyrights are 23 points clear at the top of the National League table with just 8 games left to play. It's not a question of if they're promoted, but a when, as Chris Storks reports.
We want some football. We want some. 6 years since Chesterfield fans protested following relegation from the Football League, the Spyrights are on the brink of a return, and the mood around this place couldn't be any different.
Going back into the Football League and all the positivity that brings will have such an impact on the town already. You go into shops and to places and you hear people talking about football again.
Chesterfield have been virtually unstoppable this season. They gave Championship side Watford an almighty scare in the FA Cup, and in the National League have won 29 of their 38 matches so far. Well, if Chesterfield are to win promotion this weekend, they need to beat Oldham tomorrow lunchtime, then wait to see if Barnet fail to win at Woking. But with Chesterfield so far clear at the top of the National League, it's not a question of if they go up, but when.
I've seen a fair few changing rooms, and this is definitely the best both on and off the pitch for sure. It's always brilliant when you're in a winning team and a team that's been so dominant, but yeah, I think there's such good quality all over the pitch. You know, it's it's really enjoyable.
Got such a good set of lads together as people, let alone footballers. I think the supporters see they've got a group of lads that just run through brick walls for the shirt every weekend, and that's what supporters want to see.
But it's not just on the pitch that things are looking up. At the club's AGM on Wednesday night, Ashley Kirk and his brother Phil were approved as the new majority owners.
Born in the town, live in the town. Our ambition is to make sure the people of Chesterfield have got a league club to go to every Saturday during the league season. And that means keeping it sustainable, getting into the league will be as successful as we can manage.
So with promotion back to the Football League now a near formality, all the signs suggest the Spyrights are pointing in the right direction. Chris Storks, ITV News, Chesterfield.
Now, talking of winners, it's been a pretty good week for Tarn Willers from Rotherham, who, well, as we told you on Monday, picked up an Oscar at the star-studded ceremony in Hollywood. Tarn, who's originally from Kimberworth, won the award for Best Sound for his work on the historical drama The Zone of Interest, which is a sensitive film about the Holocaust. It was a terrific achievement.
Certainly was, and I've been lucky enough to speak to Tarn in LA, and I asked him what went through his mind when he realised he'd won.
When I realised we'd won, when they announced that we'd won, what went through my mind was trying to prise my 9-year-old daughter Greta off me, because she was hugging me like I'd never been hugged before.
A very emotional moment, and then the sudden realisation that you've got to go up there and collect it.
And the Oscar goes to The Zone of Interest. Taryn Willers.
Yeah, it took us a while because we were surrounded by all the other sound teams from the other films, the nominees, and we'd met them at an event earlier in the week. They were a bunch of really, really nice guys, and they were all the first ones up to shake our hand, pat our back, to congratulate us. So it was like a little guard of honour from those guys going down, which was really nice. So it took us ages to get down to get the award. To
the normal person who likes watching a film or a movie, you know, you think of the pictures, don't you? And you maybe don't always think about the importance of the sound, but it's so important to get that right, isn't it?
It's right. It's you know, we say we're going to see a film, we're going to see a movie, and sounds quite often an afterthought for many people. But in this one, for sure, the sound plays almost another character in this movie. It's definitely an integral part.
What's been the reaction back home in Rotherham?
Yeah, a few people have been in touch that I've not seen or heard from for quite a while, and I've got a bunch of friends, the Kimberworth Fun Sponge group, and hello to you guys, and they've got my backs, and they've got my feet firmly planted on the ground. They're not letting my head go through the clouds.
It's great to put Rotherham on the map internationally, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's about time, isn't it? It's about time the world heard about Rotherham.
And of course, I suppose when you think about it, you know, when you were back home in Rotherham starting out, you never thought that one day you'd be rubbing shoulders with the big stars of the world.
It's a real shock. Yeah. I didn't ever expect to have one of these now.
Brilliant. Well deserved. It's great to see you and to see the Oscar next to you. That's fantastic. What a great success story from Yorkshire, and we really appreciate you, Todd, taking time to talk to us on Calendar tonight. Thanks ever so much.
I'm happy to do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, how was it talking to him?
Well, it was great because, you know, I think in probably 30 years of doing this job, I've never actually interviewed an Oscar winner before. So, but what a nice guy, so down to earth, laid back, still very much in touch with people back here in Yorkshire, in Rotherham. Just an all-round nice guy.
He does seem very much still like a Yorkshireman, doesn't he? I've heard some of the sound from that film, and it's just spine-tingling, really, because he's done things like he's made the buzz of the wire around Auschwitz, and when you listen to it, you can really imagine how it must have been. And he's taken that sound from, you know, from writing in diaries and that kind of thing, and built it together.
It's a real skill, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
Real skill. So
Very
you can see why he's now an Oscar winner, which is great. Now then, here's an Oscar-winning award performance. Forecaster.
I'll give it a go. It's Friday, I'll try. We did okay today. We had a little bit more in the way of sunshine, didn't we? Especially further south we were. In the north, a little bit more in the way of cloud. We've also had some downpours. You can just about see in that bottom left-hand corner, the horizon there in the North Sea in Rose's photograph. We did have some pretty hefty downpours during the course of the day. So a big thank you for sharing. Even though it hasn't been gorgeous this week, you've still kept me company at weatherphotos.itv.com. And this looks like a UFO or something, but it's the sun just trying to creep through that downpour in Maltby in South Yorkshire. A big thank you to Kev O'Donovan for the shot. Now I wanted to show you this, which was actually taken on the 27th of February, a beautiful star trail over Melbourne in East Yorkshire. A big thank you to Malcolm Hare. And I'm showing you this now is because we've hardly had a night where we've had it dry and clear for March so far. Tonight is your night if you're a keen stargazer, because we've just got a brief window of drier and clearer conditions. Then it all changes for the second half of the weekend on Sunday. Of course, Sunday is St Patrick's Day, and it's also the spring equinox, which is when day and night are equal length. And then we have to wait a couple of days until Tuesday when it's the equinox, and that's when the centre of the sun crosses the equator into the northern hemisphere. Days and nights are of equal length, and the difference is about 10 to 12 minutes, and the reason for that is how we measure daylight. So we measure it just the tip of the sun coming over the horizon, not the centre of the sun, and also the light is refracted and bent due to the Earth's atmosphere, so we see the light of the sun rising before it actually rises.
I didn't
know
that.
That's the difference.
Did you know that? I didn't know that.
She knows a lot.
She knows a lot. She knows a lot.
I try and keep it all in there, even if it's a Friday. Right, it's a Friday, so check out this gorgeous photograph. It's got to make you smile. Now, spring is springing whatever the weather at Cannon Hall. They've got baby alpacas, they've got baby pigs, they've got baby goats, and they've got twin Highland calves. A big thank you to Rob and Dave, of course, who are the farmers there, Rob and Dave Nicholson. Guess what they're called?
Teddy bears?
Highland calves is your clue.
Oh, I don't know. Toffee?
Robert and Bruce.
Oh, very good.
Ta-da!
Yeah.
And I absolutely love this watchful eye of Mum there in the background. Mum, lady, just keeping an eye out. I think it's the cutest thing ever. So keep those photographs coming of spring when it's a little bit nicer this weekend.
Thank
weather
you.
photographs.
Love to see Rob and Dave on the programme as well.
Beautiful photograph, yes. Finally tonight, to the Yorkshire woman who has well, she made history in space, didn't she? And she's now inspiring the next generation of budding astronauts.
Yes, that's right indeed. Helen Sharman from Sheffield became the first Briton in space when she blasted off to a space station back in the 90s. We sent our reporter Ben Basin to meet her.
Special guest Helen Sharman.
A trailblazer in space, now inspiring others on Earth. A packed room welcomed a science hero at ICRA Academy in Bradford.
We're going to talk about how science can help us work towards a better future. They're so keen, they love space, especially this sort of age group. We're sort of talking the top end primary, the bottom end secondary schools. It's just, there's so much, they know it's going to be part of their lives. Already space is influencing pretty much everything we do.
Originally from Sheffield, Helen Sharman was a chemist by trade when she applied to be an astronaut for a joint Soviet and British mission to the Mir space station. It was 1991 when, after 18 months of training, she spent 8 days orbiting the Earth. Nowadays, she's often in schools, and although she helps all students gravitate towards a career in a STEM industry, she's particularly inspiring for the girls.
Being the first British astronaut who happened to be a woman, you know, quite often, even now, the first person to do anything often has been a man. And it's nice, I think, for the girls to realise, well, you know what, if it hasn't been done before, they too can be the first.
And for the students, hearing from her was truly out of this world.
I found it very inspiring because I didn't really think that I would ever go to space, but now with Helen's talk, I feel like I can dream higher and reach for the stars.
I think it was very fascinating because I would have never guessed what could actually happen in space, like experiments. I thought space was just a vacuum and just be very boring, but space could be very fascinating.
It's so important for us to be pushing STEM, especially, you know, for our young girls and our boys as well, and being able to see, you know, it doesn't matter what gender you are. We want them to see that actually you can do whatever you put your mind to.
It was the children who pushed their teachers to invite Helen Sharman for a talk here. She's held in such high esteem, one of their classes is even named after her. And it's hoped the woman herself, sharing with them her remarkable story, has inspired these students to themselves reach for the stars. Ben Basin, ITV News, Bradford.
Fascinating woman to meet, I would imagine.
She really has inspired them. You can see their eyes just light up, can't you?
They were really, really interested, weren't they? Now, then, as we're looking skywards, it is, of course, time for the weather forecast for the weekend with Kerry.
Good visibility on the horizon. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello again. The weekend is almost upon us. Today it was a mix of sunshine and showers. Dramatic scenes earlier on at Filey, and yes, disappointingly cloudy across many parts this week. It stays changeable as we head into the weekend. It will feel colder into tomorrow, but we're mild and unsettled again in general from the southwest as we head into Sunday. So this was the story earlier on today. Those showers forming in bands, pushing south and eastwards. Quite a lot of cloud around, but where you got the sunny spells, not feeling too bad at all in those mild conditions. Now we stay mild for the start of the night, but you can see those winds coming in from a northerly quarter, so it does become cold throughout the night, but also clearer with lighter winds, and it will allow for the temperatures to take a tumble. So where you can see the blue hues indicating a ground frost maybe over the Dales and the Pennines, but for many of us 1 to 3 Celsius, and that is low enough for a touch of grass frost as we head through into tomorrow morning. So it's less unsettled as we head into Saturday. We are expecting it to be dry and bright to start the day, a good dose of sunshine. Cloud will invade from the southwest slowly around lunchtime into the afternoon, but it stays mostly dry until around 3 or 4 o'clock when we'll start to see showers pushing their way in. It's not quite as warm tomorrow, but still just above the average for the time of year in the afternoon if we get any sunny spells. Now, most of the unsettled stuff comes through Saturday night into early Sunday, and that leaves us on Sunday with actually not a bad day. Sunny spells, quite breezy conditions, and 1 or 2 showers. If you can get in the sunshine, out of the breeze and out of the showers, we're still looking at 13 to 15, maybe 16 Celsius. It's a bit of an east-west split on Monday. If you're further east, it will be nice in the sunshine with highs of around 17 potentially.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Kerry, I love that picture you've just used of all the blossom, because have you noticed now the cherry blossom that's out?
I have, yeah.
It's gorgeous, and it's going to look pretty, especially tomorrow morning. Save the line for Sunday. Do tomorrow morning, get up nice and early.
We will. Thanks, Kerry. Thanks for a great week, you two, and thanks very much to you for joining us. We'll see you again next week.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye from all of us. Bye.